I think actually the government knows it's probably the right thing to do. But, you know...
So the opposition does?
Sorry?
The opposition does?
Well, it's quite interesting because
Can we actually address what the Foreign Office is saying?
Sorry?
Can we just actually address what the Foreign Office is saying, why they're not prescribing the IRGC? What I've heard, what the Foreign Office is saying is that 70 to 80% of the Iranian economy is controlled by the IRGC. So if they prescribe the IRGC, they won't be able to track. I'm saying this not because I agree with it, I'm saying it because it hasn't been addressed by the panel. 70 to 80% of the Iranian economy is controlled by the IRGC. So if they prescribe IRGC as a terrorist group, that means they can't trade with any companies, that means they can't negotiate with any Iranian officials because most of them are members of the IRGC. So I think we need to address their justification for not prescribing the IRGC. They know all these things that the IRGC have done, that we've talked about. Then it's not that they're not aware of it, they know all this, but this is their justification for not prescribing, and we need to address it. Now, but I'm also thinking further, even if we prescribe the IRGC, well, Hamas is prescribed as IRGC, as a terrorist group, but still people go on the streets in support of Hamas, and the people that get arrested are people that hold the placard saying Hamas is terrorist. So we've got all the legislation, it just seems to be that we can't even implement things when we've got the legislation. But one way out of this is if we get a court ruling that condemns or declares IRGC as a terrorist group, because then the Foreign Office won't be able to resist that.
That sounds eminent sensible, but as you've got an eminent lawyer sitting two away from you, I'm going to let her deal with that because I'm not a lawyer, and so I don't know. I mean, my view is this. I mean, if we always end up going for, I mean, we've just had conversations about legal advice, which just drove me bananas. And it really did in terms, look, the issue on IRGC was quite clear. Those in the Home Office were very supportive. It was just somewhere stuck in the Foreign Office.
And this is what...
We know, and we need to find a route. The other thing is actually, which I thought what you were going to say at the beginning, was that actually it's the Americans.
No.
Well, there is a view, and quite a strong view, that the Americans have turned around. They did it under a previous president, who may well come back, but they did it under the previous president. They didn't go back on it, but they certainly didn't want their closest ally to start doing it. They didn't want. So there was a lot of pressure coming from the State Department. Don't underestimate what's coming from there. So all of these things are, on the legal point, I bow to lawyers, because in the end, whatever business we're in, we have to pay lawyers, and lawyers seem to run the world. Not doctors, I'm afraid, just lawyers. So on that, I don't know. But in terms of a campaign, in terms of keeping it alive, in terms of keeping it, there is no alternative, and I raised it with the Foreign Secretary himself a couple of weeks ago on this. And the answer is one of, if I think this was in the public domain, so I can say it because we didn't discuss it just now. He said to me that if I want to tell off the Iranians, and I do, I want to be able to do it looking at them eye to eye. And if we did the IRGC, prescribed the IRGC, and we would lose our embassy in Tehran, his words, I'd have to let our French counterpart do it.
Yeah,
to me, that is not an answer and is not a reason not to do it, but that's what's being peddled.
But they're also saying if we prescribe IRGC as a terrorist group, Europe's not going to come on board, so we're going to be left on our own. So,
well, we're not on our own. We do have the United States of America.
Sorry?
There is the United States of America.
Yeah, definitely not Europe. They're going to be left there.
Europe definitely follow. If we can leave,
I think you'll find if Britain leave, I agree, if Britain leave, the Germans will follow. I've got no doubt about that. And then others will.
I'm not saying I'm the same view
anyway,
as the Foreign Office. I'm just saying this is what they're saying. We need to address what they're saying rather than keep going on about what IRGC is doing wrong. Everyone knows what IRGC is doing wrong, but we need to.
Well, if that was the case, it would be then easy to get what we want. I'm not even sure people here know, because you're committed and want to come in. People outside in the street don't even know what we're talking about.
Yeah, I'm not saying we
Everything
should
else.
stop there, but I'm saying as well as doing that, we should also try to address what
Couldn't
the
agree
Foreign Office
more.
just.
But I'm now going to pass to, on the legal point, to one of my close friends.
Jackie and I missed your comments, but also to Stuart, thank you for your expertise in campaigning, and also Bob for a very courageous stance on this issue. My view is that I support everything that's been said, and I do support prescription of the IRGC. From a legal point of view, you know, the legislation is very clear. My view is that it is legally feasible to prescribe the IRGC. It will be novel because it will be the first time that it's a governing body of a state. But in my view, that is not an insurmountable obstacle, legally speaking, to prescription. And I agree with the comments you've made, Liam. I think that for too long, the West in general, but the UK has been complacent and lacked the courage to do what is necessary. I think this is about a hostile state. We're very clear that the Iranian regime is a hostile state.